Okay.
Okay, welcome to the joint Henley and Harpston Neighbourhood Plan Review meeting today. Thank you everybody for attending, and anybody that's watching it on YouTube. Welcome. The first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. I have Don Barraclough and Rebecca Chandler-Wild. I don't have anybody else. Jodie, have you got anybody else other than those two?
I'd add Jim Monroe to that as well. He obviously hasn't been able to join.
And I just announced that Matthew Lehman from Harpston Parish Council has taken Sarah Langton's position. I'd like to thank Sarah for her year or so on the working group. So thank you to Sarah for that. Item 2, declaration of interest. Does anybody have 10 acres of land that are going to go into the neighbourhood plan? I think not, from what I can see. I know Patrick's got a little piece of land next to his house, but I don't think that will be included. Item 3, public participation. Do we have any members of the public, Jodie?
No, we don't.
I did ask Dominic Batelli if he'd like to come to the meeting, but he obviously felt he has sufficient information without coming. Item 4, notes to agree the notes of the previous meeting that take place on the 19th of April 2021. If I can take those as read. Okay, all in favour of that? Yeah, thank you. Item 5, update from the planning officer. So I'll hand over to Jodie Rhymes.
Thank you. So we're getting ready for the public exhibition in July on the 2nd and 3rd. Since the last committee, we've been busy working on the draft policies and bringing together supporting evidence. A number of people have helped feed into that to bring together the draft policies in light of the recommendations by ACOM. So thank you to those people. We've also met with SODC, who have now got a new neighbourhood planning officer that started, and that will be our main contact moving forward. We discussed how we're getting on so far, and they're currently reviewing some of the policies. We are also trying to organise a meeting with OCC to talk about the transport policies and evidence. We also held a meeting to discuss the vision objectives, and I'll talk about that later on. Thank you.
Quick question, Jodie.
Yeah.
What's the name of the new neighbourhood planning officer at SODC?
It's Ben, his second name's escaped me. Kath, do you remember?
Ben Duffy. Ben Duffy.
Duffy, yeah.
Duffin.
Duffy, D-U-F-F-Y.
Ben what, sorry? Sorry, did you say you knew?
Duffy, D-U-F-F-Y.
Right, okay, thank you. Same as Adrian then. Not related, I hope.
He's Duffield.
Yeah, could I just thank Jodie and anybody that's helped on these on items 8, 9 and 10. There's an amazing amount of work gone into this, and obviously we thank you for carrying that out, Jodie. So yeah, thank you from the committee. Does anybody wish to ask any questions on item 5? Most items will come up later on anyway. Item 6, updates from the working group. Michelle, we had a statement from, is Michelle gone? Oh no, Michelle.
Sorry, yeah.
We had a statement for you sent through. Would you like to read that out that you just sent?
That was just sort of like a replacement for the minutes.
Okay.
Jodie, I don't know if you wanted to read it. I haven't got it up on my screen.
Okay. Yeah, I can just read that. So you've provided some additional...
In a nutshell, what I said from last time, really, just a condensed version of it.
Yeah, so you've provided some additional information on birth rates. ONS figures in 2019 show that the rate for SODC was 1.87 and the national average was 1.65. The pupil census continues to be monitored annually, and there remains to be good capacity across Henley's primary schools. At secondary level, Oxfordshire is a net importer of cross-boundary pupils, especially boundaries of local authorities with selective education systems. Lawrence, you had a...
Yeah, Lawrence.
Actually, it was just a quick question to anyone who might be able to answer it. When will we find out the school statistics for this coming year? Because I know that chatting to a few clients, a lot of patients are surprised to obviously read the recent Henley Standard article, yet they find this year subscription to our local primary schools is really difficult, i.e. massively oversubscribed.
Michelle.
Yeah, the answer to that is we only can take figures from the pupil census. And even then, they are deemed quite sensitive because you can only get figures from the pupil census by way of a freedom of information request. So you're talking about anecdotal evidence. Yeah. And yes, I do know that Trinity, for instance, for September's entry is oversubscribed by 12.
Yeah. Same as Valley Road, from what I hear. I just got sent round an email about the numbers on the wait list and where they're from, etc.
And with the Henley Standard article on schools, unfortunately, it's just one of those situations where I guess they ran out of room with the words. Yeah. And so it has no context. It has no mention of the pupil census when it's a snapshot of you know, a time in you know, just like an annual, it's just taken annually, and it didn't share any of the context behind, you know, it looks like we've just kind of plucked these figures from the sky, whereas, you know, it's part of our work on the neighbourhood plan.
That doesn't sound like the Henley Standard at all.
I was trying to put that in a really sort of factual way, but yeah, I mean, it just looks like kind of they landed from nowhere.
Okay.
Sorry again.
That's fine. That's fine. Right. Okay. Is there anything else to add on to that item one then on the schools, colleges, doctor surgeries? No, nothing else on those. The next item was the item little 2, libraries, community halls, sports and leisure facilities. Joan, did you have some more work to do on that?
Well, there's nothing very much changing really, apart from obviously it's great that they're open. So there's nothing particularly in terms of their facilities. It's just to say, for example, the sports centres, they gradually open more of their facilities. So I have nothing actually to add, and I'm not quite sure what extra work will be needed. If anyone thinks there is extra work and can point me in that direction, I'm quite happy to do it.
Yeah, it was just to review those recommendations that you listed at the end.
Yeah, well, that's not for me, I think.
No, yeah, I'll look at those and review them. Yeah.
Okay then. Okay on that, and Joan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Item 3 on transport. You were going to mention a meeting that had been cancelled, Jodie.
Yeah. So I'll go on to that. But firstly, we're considering the evidence that we need to pull together to support the transport policies. ACOM have suggested that we need to review the transport study that was produced by Peter Brett in 2015. We've been in contact with Santec to produce this new study. However, they've estimated a very big cost for this. So we're going to meet with OCC to discuss whether we need to do a full review of that study, or if we could actually do part review ourselves. We'll make some recommendations on that at the next committee. So yeah, going on to what Councillor Arlett's mentioned in terms of the transport focus group that we were trying to run, that's had to be cancelled, unfortunately, because we didn't get enough attendance for that. We are going to go out with a short questionnaire though, to get views from the public and stakeholders on transport issues to feed into the plan. Thank you.
Lawrence.
Just on that Stantec point, was it a year or so ago that we updated the numbers to try and make that study relevant for longer? Does that not serve the purpose, or does it need to be updated greater than that?
They're suggesting that we need to update it more than that, but we're going to talk to OCC about actually if we really need to do that, or if we can do part.
Patrick, you were shaking your head there.
Yeah, no, just to say that the study that was done, the interim study, was done at a different time of year and produced very confusing results. So I think that we probably do need to do some sort of study. Question is how much and who does it, because OCC actually undertake their own studies.
Yeah.
And it may be that if we talk to them that they might do some of the work, albeit we'll have to pay them, but they might do some of the work for it.
Okay, thank you. The next item, car parks. That was me and Jeff, and we are now up to date with our topic papers. Just a relevant piece of information: on June the 1st, all the charging is going to change in the car parks in SODC's car parks in Kings Road and Grays Road. So everybody will get a free hour car park any time of the day. But if you park there on a Sunday, you're going to have to pay after the first hour. So that comes into practice on the 1st of June. Other than that, yeah, we're up to speed on that, Jeff. Thank you very much. Next one, item 5, new housing. I don't know if you've got anything to add, David.
No significant change.
Okay. I noticed 253 Grays Road one there appeal, most annoyingly.
Well, yeah, that makes
Two,
yeah, but one over what we were expecting.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Business and community engagement, item 6, Jodie.
So yeah, as I've said, we're preparing for the exhibition in July. Community First Oxfordshire are currently in the process of preparing a feedback form, so the attendees at the exhibition can fill that out, so we can get their comments on the site options. This will be in relation to how ACOM have assessed each of the sites. They're also producing an online survey so people can get involved without having to attend in person as well. We also are going to put together some videos, I've mentioned this before, on the key themes of the neighbourhood plan, and I'll be in contact with individuals to try and get this moving, really, and they'll be available so people can see what we've been up to by just going on the website.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody wish to speak on that? I see not. Next item on page 3, little 7. I think we may well call it a day on this one now. Tame themselves have now called in consultants to run their review from them. 12 neighbourhood plans were agreed to go forward and accepted on the referendums that were called on the 6th of May. I see a little point now in meeting any of the parishes, so I propose that we take this item off our list, if everybody's accepted to that. Yeah, okay, top. Item little 8, review of all existing sites. The Fairmile, there's amended plans have gone in for that one now. I haven't personally seen them myself. Hopefully that will be the final application. That's been going backwards and forwards since 2019 on the original application. So I look forward to seeing that. I don't know if anybody else has seen the application. I'm not sure what the numbers they're asking for on that. Anyway, we'll have a look later, unless Lawrence is logging on to it now. The Yeah, that one there. And obviously the only other one really on the go is Highlands Farm, which they seem to be building away there now. They seem to be selling a few houses up there. Kath?
I think we talked about whether anyone wanted to have a look at the Fair Mile application on behalf of the Neighbourhood Plan Group in the same way that we used to look at the Highlands Park applications, just to see whether it's in line with what we were expecting, whether we had any comments to go back on it.
And are you saying make personal comments or make comments through the working group?
Well, it'll be too late if it goes to the next committee meeting, but
Do we have a number?
Well, that's why I'm not sure, David.
The proposal is for demolition of existing buildings and development of 72 residential units comprising of 52 houses and 20 flats.
And I think that's what it was before, David, for 72 units. Yeah. So I've got nothing to add on there. Little 9, as far as I know, no more industrial land has come forward. No. Item 10, site selection. This will obviously take place after the exhibition. What we were suggesting that there will be questionnaires there at the exhibition, and we would ask that they are returned, if they're not filled in on the day, that they will be returned within 10 days of the exhibition. And then I think we'll sit down as a little working group and work through all the responses, and then come forward with some sites to the working group. And that's myself and Kester and Ian Clark. I wouldn't mind another one on that, another 1 or 2 anyway, if anybody else would like to come onto that group.
I think, am I on that one? I think I'm on that one. And Michelle, according to this.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I only read the first line. Sorry, myself, Kester, yeah, you're Michelle and Joan. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that should be enough for us to go through it and then make recommendations to the working group anyway. I would have thought so. Unless anybody else wants to get involved, they're more than welcome to come along. When we arrange a meeting, that is. Item 11, conservation area and local lists. Jodie, have you got any information on there?
I haven't got much more from last time, but SODC are still reviewing the Harpston and Henley draft appraisals, and Purcell will be updating the documents following the comments from SODC. Yeah.
Kester.
Any indication what the thinking is about a conservation area in Harpston, please?
I can't confirm that at the moment, but I could set up a separate meeting just to go through what they've recommended and the SODC comments when I've received them as well, if that would be helpful.
That's a meeting with you, Kester.
And the rest of Harpston Parish Council as well. We could run through it together in a separate meeting if you wanted.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear about that answer. Surely the ball is in the review team's field. They should be telling us what they think, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for SODC to comment. So once I've received that, I can come back to the Neighbourhood Plan Committee.
Yes, I mean, it's rather odd. Shouldn't the conservation area review team report, and then we should know what their report is before the SODC come in on the act?
Did we not get a report from ACOM on that, Jodie?
It's Purcell that have produced that.
Oh, sorry.
I'll circulate that to you so you can see it, and then you can.
Please, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Kester. Thank you for that. The last item, little 12, climate emergency. Patrick, have you got anything on there?
Just to say, working with Jodie, there's still quite a lot of work to do, and we are again waiting for SODC on this one. because there are a number of things we for instance, on trees, they're playing their cards very close to the chest, and they want to review it with their trees officers, before they get back to us on that. So still work to do on collecting evidence, and there's work to do with both SODC and OCC, in fact, on this.
Are there any timescales on this, Jodie, on what SODC, and so I'll come back to you, Kath. Are there any timescales on
Yeah, so it should be with us by the end of, is it next week?
Yeah.
They had 2 weeks. So
okay.
yeah, SODC. And as I said, we're trying to organise a meeting with OCC to get their feedback.
Kath, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think I got an email that I maybe never sent back to Patrick, which said that they were going to come back. They were expecting the tree officer at SODC to come back within a fortnight.
Good.
So,
thank you, Kath.
So we do need to chivvy them probably.
Yeah.
So we bring that to the next meeting then. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we will have had the meeting, and then we'll have a much better idea on how we can go forward on those policies.
Yeah. Okay. So just moving on then to item 7, and then we come on to policies. Item 7, the Oxfordshire Neighbourhood Plans Alliance. Patrick, have you been into any meetings at all?
Yeah, we had a meeting. It's all a bit hard. We were going to be doing one on affordable homes, and that just didn't take off. The various people who wanted to speak wouldn't, which was a bit of a blow. So we'll be revisiting that one probably in a couple of months' time. The other thing that has happened is, as you mentioned, is that there are in Oxfordshire, there are about certainly more than a dozen neighbourhood plans that have now gone through referendum.
Yeah.
And so the numbers are swelling. But there's not really anything else to report.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any comments, questions? Nope. Right, one of the bigger ones now, item 8, vision and objectives. I'll get Jodie to speak on this. Over to you, Jodie.
Okay, thank you. So this starts on page 11 of the agenda. We held a meeting to discuss the vision and objectives on the 5th of May with members of the committee, and we worked through the each theme and came up with some suggested changes. You'd already looked at this in 2018 and done a thorough job at redrafting the existing vision and objectives that are currently in the plan. So I've set out that in my report, and you'll find the revised vision and objectives on page 13. So the recommendation is to approve the draft vision and objectives for the new neighbourhood plan as set out on page 12.
Can you just explain, well, if you can't, I know Kath could, because it came up at a meeting this morning, on this impact assessment, which seems to have appeared on more than one agenda, more than the neighbourhood plan. Can you just explain what these 3 items are, where these have come from? The biodiversity, climate disorder and climate emergency. Or I'll go to Kath.
I'll leave it to Kath.
Thank you, Jodie. This was included in our report template from the Town Council by the Town Clerk. There's legislation that says that the councils have a statutory duty to consider the effects of our decisions on biodiversity and crime and disorder. So Sheridan was putting in a paragraph on that anyway. And given that the council's declared a climate emergency, then we've added a section on climate emergency for report writers to consider when they're putting reports together.
I didn't want you to vote for something you weren't aware of, that was all. Yeah, Jodie was referring to, we did about 18 months ago, we went through the original neighbourhood plan, and we went all through the vision statements and the objectives, and we changed a wee bit and added bits to it. So this is what's now in this report on agenda item 18. That's all mainly items that we picked up about 18 months ago, and we go on to the next item, which is similar. So the resolve to recommend, which go to the planning committee, was to approve the draft vision and objectives for the revised joint Henley and Harpsden neighbourhood plan. And they should probably go to Harpsden as well, Kester, these items. Yeah?
Yes, agreed.
So if we can send them to, would it be up to us to put it on agenda for Harpsden, or?
No, leave it to me.
Yeah?
Get that done.
I think you should consider them as well. And if there are any items you're not happy, obviously bring them back to us, Kester. So if we can support the recommendation on page 12, yeah, all in favour of those? Okay, that's carried. Thank you.
Wait a moment. Can I make a comment?
Sorry?
Can I make a comment?
I think you're going to.
Yeah, on HO5 on page 13, it talks about new housing promoting the amenity of all.
Hold on, we haven't got there, David. We're just going to move on to that item now.
Oh, okay.
No, that is the right item.
Yeah. We just finished on page 12, haven't we?
No, section.
Oh, okay, that's fine. You go on then. Yeah, sorry. I'm with you now.
Well, clearly new housing doesn't promote the amenity of all. A lot of neighbours who are next door or close to housing developments will say their quality of life has been greatly reduced. And it just seems a misleading statement. So that's one point. The other one is a question. A bit further on in EO1, it talks about green spaces. In fact, green spaces crop up quite a lot. I'd just like to know whether green spaces include both private and public land, or just public land.
It includes both.
It does include both.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go back to HO5 you mentioned, David.
Yeah.
But you could have similar, couldn't you, with people, building extensions, on their properties.
Yeah.
Anybody else wish to mention anything on those planning policies that we, as I say, we went all through this about 18 months ago to change all of these.
Just a comment.
Jodie's gone through them again.
So just a comment on EO1, just very pleased indeed to see that the cooperation with existing groups, because we're very, very lucky in this area to have these voluntary groups, especially things like the Children's Society, who work very, very closely with the SODC in path maintenance. So I'm delighted to see that the cooperation with them is included in our plan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to item 9, which is the existing policies. Jodie again.
Okay, thank you. So this is a report recommending that we take forward some of the existing policies from the neighbourhood plan on themes including social and infrastructure, retail and town centre, employment and design. It doesn't include housing at the moment, and that will come back at the next committee. The policies are all listed on pages 19 and 20. In some cases, it will be necessary to update the policy wording slightly to ensure that they remain effective and that they reference the most up-to-date national and local policy. So I'll be reviewing these along with the support of SODC ahead of the exhibitions in July. So you'll find the recommendation on page 18. So this is to recommend to approve at planning to confirm the inclusion of the existing policies on the following themes to be included within the joint Henley and Harpston Neighbourhood Plan, and that the final wording and content of the policies and supporting text is delegated to the planning officer. Thank you.
I did say to Jodie on item 6.2, if anything major came up, this should obviously bring back to the working group. But if it's only just minor text, I think we can leave it to Jodie to do that, if everyone's happy with that.
Yep.
And so there's more information on page 19 and 20 to that item. Does anybody wish to make any comments on page 19 and 20? I see none, so all in favour of the recommendations, and we do the same with Harpston on that one. Okay, thank you. The next item, item 10, is new policies, which are on page 21 to 30. Again, Jodie, I'll have to pass this to you.
Yeah, thank you. So this sets out the new policies that are proposed for the emerging neighbourhood plan. These have been through a number of stages of redrafting, and various people have helped to shape the new policies. We've recently considered the recommendations from ACOM on the gaps in the policies, and these are all listed on page 24. Please note that this is an interim position at this stage, whilst we're still bringing together that supporting information, and the wording will be updated to take account of that evidence, and that will be ready for the exhibitions. So you'll find my recommendation on page 23. So this is to recommend to planning to confirm the provisional preferred policy approaches to be included within the revised joint Henley and Harpston Neighbourhood Plan. And again, that the final wording content of the policies is delegated to the planning officer. And I'll just reinstate the point that Councillor Arlott made on the last item, that if there's any major changes, that I'll bring those back to the committee. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a massive amount of work on that. I think for me personally, I think it's very frustrating when you do all this work and you think you got it right and you send it off to wherever, ACOM or SODC, and they ask for more information, and you do question at times, how much information you can give. So it's been very frustrating, and there's an amazing amount of work in this, Jodie, that you've carried out, and obviously we appreciate the amount of work. Hopefully there'll be no more Saturdays and Sundays to work on it, so thank you for that. So does anybody wish to speak on that? I'll just go to the recommendation on page 23. No, okay, so the recommendations in front of you, can we all vote in favour of that, please? Okay, thank you. Item 11, Community Land Trust. Kath, if you can just give an update on how we're getting on with that at the moment.
Yes, we got in contact with the people that had expressed an interest in learning more about community-led housing in the neighbourhood plan survey. And we've got a reasonable number of people who have come forward saying that they would like to be on a steering group, and some people just saying that they'd like to help out occasionally, or they might be interested in moving into new housing. So now we're waiting for the collaborative housing group for Oxfordshire, who are the community-led housing enablers, government funded for the area. And they're going to run a workshop to bring all the people that have already been working on this project so far, plus the new people that have expressed an interest, bring everyone together and work out objectives for the group and see where people's different skills lie, with a view to forming a proper steering group that can then move forward to incorporation, to move the project forward. But obviously, as far as land is concerned, to build community-led housing on, we're dependent on what sites go through the site assessment process for the neighbourhood plan.
Do you just want to touch on the seminars or the meetings that took place a couple of weeks ago, Kath, like the first one that I was at where you were at, and then a couple more that you went to, just briefly?
Yeah, so last week the Collaborative Housing Hub were running a festival of community-led housing with different events and different speakers each day. The first event was speakers from various groups around, mostly around Oxfordshire, that had been working on projects, quite a mixture. Some of it is, I can't think what it's called, but it's like housing, where communal housing, where, so one example was a semi-detached house in Oxford, where they got the funding, but now it's rented out at a very reasonable rent. I think it was quoted as something like £350 a month for Oxfordshire. It was really, for Oxford, it was really low. And then other projects that have just taken years and not got anywhere, disappointingly. But one that looks like it's really moving forward in Hook Norton, which is quite interesting. And also Tame CLT, who the group here have talked to as well, and they've got planning application in at the moment. So quite a mixture of experiences. Also, I attended a talk on larger scale community-led housing. So one example of that would be a development that was built probably about 20 years ago now in London, which is 100 units, each one with space for cycles, the first car club that was in the country, but all solar panels, and then they're refitting to make the housing more energy efficient as well. And Friday's session was on retrofit, which was quite interesting. I'll send the link round to members of the community, of the Climate Emergency Working Group, because I think there were some interesting presentations. Retrofit, ways of trying to link villages to make them more sustainable, so that you have villages in clusters, where you maybe have a doctor in one village, a school in another village, a library in another village, and just very small scale development in the villages, as opposed to just trying to put all the development on the edge of towns. So some quite interesting ideas came forward, and it was definitely worth attending.
I think there, thanks, Kath, for that. The first, well, the one I went to on the Monday, I found pretty frustrating, actually. There were so many different groups there from kind of all over the UK, I think. And the biggest frustration was how long it takes to get anything off the ground, you know, to get yourself a piece of land, get yourself a plan application, get yourself planning permission. And some of them have been going 7 or 8 years. And for me personally, you know, I wouldn't want to get involved in a community land trust and be talking today and nothing happens in over the next 8 years. And there's so many different examples on this as well. You know, if you're lucky enough to be given a piece of land and you can get funding, you can obviously then have all the houses for rented. If you have to buy the land, you know, some of them are say going to build 10 houses, they sell off 5 and those 5 pay for the building the other 5. Some do rental, some do part sale. There's so many different ways you can that you can do it with these houses. I think we were talking, the meetings that we've had, I think, Kath, to be fair, that at the moment we would like people to donate land and being able to get funding and then be able to rent those places out in perpetuity. But as I say, there are so many different ways to do it. You could almost write a book on it, I believe. Lawrence, you had your hand up.
I was just going to say, I'm reading into it. I was chatting to a client about it. And it's kind of, community land trust is just a simple legal structure, as it were. All of them are just underpinned by accessibility to land and or money. You either have one or the other, or a little bit of both. The legal structure thereafter can be set up using you don't actually need to be a member of a CLT to be able to do it, as it were. it's just one of those will be underpinned by whether we can find the land and or raise the money from this, displacing developments that would otherwise take place at, say, Thames Farm or Shiplake or wherever it is, and then using the money to build elsewhere.
Yeah, but I think with the CLT, you can get into a position where you can keep the houses in perpetuity for rental, where.
Yeah, but that doesn't need to be through a sale. That's just a legally binding contract. That's just a land covenant that you create as part of the structure. Community land trust is just what they're called, as it were.
But you would still have to set up a limited company there. Yeah. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Ian Clark.
Yes, the Miss Noble, who donated a piece of land by the allotments, what's the council thinking or doing about that for social housing and things like that?
I think we'll wait until after the exhibition, Ian.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, it will be up to this working group to put a recommendation forward. Kester.
Just to make it quite clear that she hasn't donated anything.
Yeah. Well, at this moment in time, I accept that. I think Ian was probably saying if it was donated, what would happen? Yeah, but it's in the it's in the 13, isn't it? It's for the exhibition. So let's see what happens from there. But I hear where you're coming from, Kester. So it's very interesting, the Community Land Trust, but I say the Tame one, which has been set up for probably 3 or 4 years now, they have got a planning application in, but it's on a piece of land that you wouldn't normally get planning permission for. And there's been so many objectors to it, you wouldn't believe it. You would have thought people would support it, but that's not been the case. So that application has been in for quite a while. So you are looking for land where you probably wouldn't normally get planning permission. But it's interesting. So if anybody wants to join in, they're more than welcome. Item 12, Jodie, next steps.
We'll be bringing back the housing policies, the proposed local green space designations, and the information, including the feedback form and the exhibition boards ahead of the exhibitions. We'll also be wanting some volunteers to attend the exhibitions in July. So I'll send out a doodle poll to complete this after this committee to get some volunteers for that.
Yeah, I think on the exhibition, it's going to be most important. I think if we have a little at the next meeting that we have a little crib sheet written up on what some kind of questions could be and what answers we need to give. We don't really want to all be given different views on what we think. I think we should kind of answer the questions collectively. You may have a personal opinion, which is fine, but I think as a working group, we should give the group's views on any questions that are raised. I'm quite looking forward to it, actually. I think it'll be a really good day, and hopefully people will turn up in their numbers. I'll be disappointed actually if people don't turn up. Lawrence.
No, I was going to say, I think we discussed it last time on the vision meeting that as best we can stay impartial, just deliver facts and numbers in regards to each rather than opinions and preferences would be hard to do, but good. Our job is not to sell our favourite one to members of the visiting public, as tempting as that would be.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Patrick's still trying to get rid of his piece of land. Any questions?
Sorry, just to say, I like the idea of the crib sheet. So we're all, the proverbial hymn sheet, we're all singing from the same one, because it would be very embarrassing if they came away with confused answers to the same questions.
Well, that's what we don't really want to do. Yeah. That's what. But we'll bring that hopefully, Jodie, at the next meeting, or even send it out before then if we can do it a few days before, and then we can discuss it here. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to make any comments on that? No. The next meeting we're going to propose for Monday, the 14th of June. My diary is quite empty now. I did give any date that week actually, but we thought we'd go back to Mondays. Mondays seem to be more convenient. So are we okay with that? Anybody wish to make any comments or anything else? No? Okay, thank you for attending, Matthew, and everybody else. And we'll see you on the 40th. Jeff, yes.
Mr. Chairman, did you say the Monday the 13th?
14th.
14th. Got it. Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
Put it in your diary, Jeff.
Okay, thank you everybody for attending. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.